Hey everyone, welcome back to K-Korner. I'm your host, Crown, and today we've got some incredible stories to share with you. From the unexpected twists of everyday life to the moments that make you go, wow, did that really happen? We've got it all covered. So grab your favorite snack, sit back, and get ready to dive into today's stories. Let's jump right in. I want to state clearly that this did not happen to me, but to a friend in a state that has adopted a set of stand your ground laws. This is posted with his explicit permission, though I will have to redact some details due to the still ongoing case. I know this will probably be buried in new or get removed, but I just wanted to share something that happened today that really makes you appreciate the term trigger discipline. I won't bother you with a cast, as it should be fairly obvious what type of people are involved, judging by the title. A friend of mine was out and about with his girlfriend shopping for groceries, clothes, and some new utensils. My friend and his girlfriend stop at a store to pick up some clothes, some for themselves and some for his girlfriend's niece, who is all but 2 years old and is having her birthday in 2 days. After finding the clothes that both him and his girlfriend want for themselves and his girlfriend's niece, they were walking up to the checkout when, according to my friend, they heard a woman screech, "You filthy harlot! You can't wear those kinds of clothes in public." This made them both stop and turn around to see an obese, middle-aged woman with a stereotypical Karen haircut that was dragging along a poor kid who looked like he was wearing hand-me-downs from several generations before, while the mother was wearing what appeared to be a fancy dress that looked horrible on her, according to my friend, jewelry, and had enough makeup on her face to put a Barbie doll has been dunked in wax to shame. My friend didn't like that this woman had called his girlfriend a harlot. The term harlot was common many years ago and was used to describe women and was basically calling them bad names in a religious manner/context. He simply said, "Lady, don't use that word to describe my girlfriend. You shouldn't even be using that sort of language around your kid. Besides, what she decides to wear is her choice alone. Now kindly leave us alone." The mother screeched, "I'm a God-fearing, God-worshipping woman and your elder. You have to listen to me." My friend's girlfriend made the mistake of saying that they might have heard her out if she had been nice enough and calm about it, and not yelling like a banshee on crack. This, not surprisingly, didn't sit well with the mother in the slightest, which then caused her to start shouting about how that, as their superior, and because they were younger than her, and less disciplined than her, that they needed to listen to her and that her precious baby didn't deserve to see a trashy woman wearing revealing clothes, and that they would taint his mind. This in turn pissed both of them off, but they decided to just drop the subject altogether instead of feeding fuel to the dumpster fire. They walk away after they hear the mother sputtering and yelling about how my friend's girlfriend was a bad influence to her precious child and how they would both, and I quote from his account, "be sent to hell one way or another." The last comment put him on edge, and rightly so. After checking out and with their cheerful moods dampened, they both were on their way to my friend's car when they both heard, "Sweetie, get in the car. Mommy has some problems to deal with." They both rolled their eyes and continued on their way to my friend's car until they heard, "I'll cut those clothes off you myself, you filthy sinners." By the distinctive voice of the mother that they hoped they had seen the last of, my friend turned around and saw the woman hoppling over with a knife in her hand, with the blade flipped out, yelling at them the whole time. My friend immediately tells his girlfriend to call the police as he yells at her to stop walking towards them with a knife. When she doesn't stop, he once again yells at her to stop and please put away the knife and that nobody has to get hurt. When she still doesn't walk away, my friend draws his concealed carry out from his waistband and once more shouts at the woman to just walk away, and that he doesn't want to use his firearm. He borderline begged her not to make him have to pull the trigger, that he didn't want her kid to lose his mother. The mother screeched that she would get him arrested for drawing a dangerous weapon on a law-abiding person that was doing God's work, and quickly hobbled away, much to his relief. His girlfriend came out from behind a nearby car and handed the phone to him so he could explain what happened. He let the operator know that he was a lawful concealed carrier and that he had just drawn his weapon on a person that wished him and his girlfriend bodily harm. Following the operator's instructions, he described the time, place, and vehicles that were around him and set his firearm on the trunk of his car. and both him and his girlfriend stepped away from the trunk of his car. When the police arrived, they detained my friend. Detain doesn't mean arrest. He was just put in the back of the cruiser while the police sorted things out. No handcuffs were involved and no rights were read there, and they both gave the responding officers their side of the story and pointed out the security cameras outside there. They confiscated my friend's firearm, a standard procedure for incidents like this, and asked them both to give a statement at the police station. They agreed, and my friend was even complimented later by an officer for not being hasty and showing exceptional trigger discipline. He has not gotten his firearm back and most likely will not receive it back until this whole case is sorted out. But he then told me that losing his firearm for the time being is preferred over having to potentially kill someone over something as stupid as clothing. Okay, so I shared my little story to a few friends at a Discord and was told to share it with you fine people. This all happened a little over 10 years ago when I was just starting out in my mechanic career. It's a bit of a long read, but I believe it's worth the time. Due to the nature of the story, some parts/locations will be vague. Looking back now, I probably went a little too far at first, but apparently fate had other plans in the end. So, to start off a little backstory, I grew up on a farm on the East Coast. Lots of hard work with no pay, and being from a less fortunate family, we never had much. Growing up this way helped me appreciate what little I had though. Once I was 16, I bought a car with a blown motor and rebuilt it while in auto class. I loved that car. While working for an auto parts store, my mother decided to move down south. Parents were divorced long ago. And since my stepmother was a total witch, druggie, ruined my father's business, that kind of witch, I decided to leave everything behind and move in with my mother a few states away a few months after turning 18. I barely had enough to get there. Once there, I helped pay the bills with my auto parts store job. For Christmas that year, Mom couldn't get me anything. We were barely getting by, so I scrapped up enough to get myself a stereo for my car. A cheap one, but nice to 19-year-old me. And her a gold-plated cross necklace she hung on her rear-view mirror. She cried when I gave it to her and still tears up when I talk about it. We lived in a trailer park surrounded by trees covered in Spanish moss, hidden from the main road and a few miles away from the nearest town. We knew our neighbors well as there were only around 8 other trailers on this lot. Nice people, apart from one that was next to us. I will call him Chad. Chad was in the military and worked on a nearby base. He was also an MP. As such, he never cared when he or his buddies were being too loud at night. Left trash everywhere and refused to clean it up, and generally was just a jerk to everyone. He even cussed out a 90-year-old lady for asking him to clean up the beer bottles he and his friends threw into her rose garden. The whole neighborhood hated Chad and his jerk friends. One spring, I blew a head gasket in my car, so I was in my little driveway parked next to my mom's car. Her boyfriend's truck was parked in front of the trailer out of the way. Anyway, late one night as I was working on my car, Chad's buddies were making their drinking rounds, walking all over the park, throwing bottles everywhere, pissing on cars, and being jerks. They saw me working on my car and came right over to make fun of me for being poor, not having a better car, still living with my mom at 19 and everything. I tried to just ignore them since I was not a confrontational person, and I asked them to let me be so I can get this done. To this, they just made a bit more fun of me and left when they realized they weren't getting a reaction from me. Later on, they all went into Chad's trailer and continued partying, so I packed up my tools and parts and took everything inside. Ensured all of our doors were locked and went to bed there. That morning, I woke up to all our car's doors open and ransacked. I was pissed. Missing was my stereo, my mom's gold cross, and her boyfriend's truck stereo. It was an expensive HUD style. We called the cops and they didn't want to do anything about it. As the donut patrol was talking to me saying, "This isn't worth the department's time," something in me just snapped. I politely said, "Okay, I get it. We'll be sure to keep a watch out for next time then," and the cops left. I went inside and started thinking of how I was going to get even. No one will make my mom cry. So I went to Chad's door and asked him where our stuff was. He was hungover and I woke him up at 7 a.m. He was not happy but let it slip that he doesn't know where his friends took it. So I had him. I told him he has 24 hours and nothing will be done. He laughed it off and slammed the door in my face. It was on. Later that night came a huge storm, heavy rain, lots of thunder, and the works. So at 1 a.m. I dressed up in some old clothes and thermals, grabbed my tools and went out to his car. He had a nice new little Nissan, and to me it looked a little too nice. I got under it and took off everything I possibly could without being caught. I unbolted every nut, cut every wire, cut a few holes in the gas tank, sliced his tires from the inside side walls, and took off the oil pan. I went ape crazy on this poor little car. My father was a mechanic for many years, and growing up with him, I learned a lot about how to destroy a car without being noticed. Thanks to the storm, Chad never heard a thing. After a few hours of getting my revenge, I went back inside and cleaned up. Tossing my clothes in the wash and going to bed happy, I was able to cause him some peril. The next morning, I woke up to the blissful sounds of him cursing and punching his car that had no chance of ever working again. All those parts of his I threw into a small pond just over the fence near the edge of the lot. They will never be found. He was so pissed he broke all the glass and dented several body panels. The cops were called and they asked around. Everybody said he had anger issues and was within reason that he would take it out in his own car, or his wife, who was hardly around due to him being him, but they had a kid, so I guess they were making it work somehow. The cops, being the lazy jerks I knew them to be from the day before, didn't do anything and chalked it up to him having issues and left. In any other revenge story, this would be it, right? I got my revenge and he has to pay. Oh, but as fate would have it, I was but a cog in life's plan to give him what he had coming. I never planned this part, but it makes me smile every time I think back. So since he didn't have a car anymore, he had it towed off. His wife, at least I thought it was his wife, would come over to spend some time with him. One thing that perplexed me is there was no kid in tow as usual, and her voice was different. So I got a webcam and set it up in my window. A perfect spot to see who was coming in and out, and turns out he was dating other people. After a little over a month, I compiled every girl, every conversation, and every front porch goodbye into a folder and caught his wife bringing their son by when he was out one evening. I asked her to come in and I showed her the clips. She was livid. She was so pissed she called her dad and ordered a U-Haul. I helped her gather anything she said was hers, including a 55-inch TV. It was 2009, those were still very nice. The fridge and even the washer and a dryer. She gave me $100 for my time, hugged me, and thanked me over and over for letting her know just how much of a jerk he really is. And that's when I told her he did me wrong too and explained what had happened to me and my family. She was slack-jawed and called her dad again. She told me this wasn't over and she felt so bad for us having to deal with him. An hour later she came back with her dad and he gave me another $200 and said he was very appreciative that someone did the right thing. He shook my hand, thanked me again, and I never saw him again. The most amazing thing was when Chad came home after drinking and realizing all the stuff was gone. He destroyed the trailer, kicked out walls, windows, ripped off the door and everything. Cops were called again by the old lady neighbor and he was put in cuffs and taken away. He was never heard from again, but I was told from the nice landlord who owned the whole lot he was on a tab for all the damages and for rent and took him to court. They had to wait because apparently he made a fuss at the station and hit a cop. I don't know what happened after this since we moved. So his life is probably still ruined and I couldn't care less. I bought mom alternatives for what she lost. Me another stereo and bought one for mom's boyfriend too that wasn't as good as his old one but was still nice. I told him the full story over a hangout with his friends and we had the best nights. Take care of your mechanic friends. Background: I, 29 female, have known and been with my husband, 33 male, for the past 4 years and married for 2 years. I started working when I was 21, right after my bachelor's degree. After 2 years of working, I bought myself a house. Nothing fancy, I bought the land and built a house. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-floor house. I got to know and date my husband in 2019. The construction of my house had finished by then. He lived in a different country. So when he visited me, I took him to show my house. I'm very proud of it. It's something I built with my own money and I own it, however small. After our wedding, I moved to the country where he was already staying. We split our bills and rent equally. We both work in IT and earn pretty well. So we're planning to buy a house. We found a place we liked and can afford. We are putting both our names to the deed because both of us are paying for it together. The problem arose when he said he wanted his name added to the house I bought by myself. I'm not comfortable doing that, and I said so. He said it's unfair that I have two now, and he would have part on one. I said it was his bad plan for not buying a house before. I bought that house before I knew he existed and it was my own money. Since he had no contribution to it, I'm not obligated to make him feel good by adding him to deeds. He then proceeded to call his family. While his sister and brother-in-law support me, his mom and dad said that it's not about money, but it's about the togetherness and whatever it is should be for the both of us or none. I said I'm sorry, but this is not happening. He will never be in a deed even if he pays his share, which he and his family thinks he should not because it's ours, not mine or his, because I know how much I struggled to have that house and make it happen. And now his mom and dad are saying that I disrespected them by saying this. Am I the jerk? Edit 1. Both of us are from the same country. We are on a visa in a different country and we work there. We are planning to buy a house where we work on a visa. We are allowed to do that. We are planning to stay for 5 more years at least, so buying a house made it seem logical. In my country, we don't have a prenup culture. I did tell him earlier that this was mine and I won't ever give it to anyone. Unless I'm dead, in which case it will go to either my kids, if I have any, or the charity. Edit 2. Because someone pointed this out, my husband's family has generational wealth. I don't. He has never depended on me for anything. We married because we loved each other. It has nothing to do with money, at least in my case. Edit 3. I am sorry if it looks like I'm entitled when I say that I bought the land from my dad in a comment. I did buy it from him for real cheap, but I paid off all the construction cost, material cost, labor cost and so on by myself. I even plastered and painted the walls myself when I was a little low on money. I think this makes it valid for me to be proud of what I did. I am from a developing country and I'm sorry that you have to crap on me if just the land came for cheap and I paid and did everything. I have cut tiles myself and mixed paints and watered the cement. So hell yeah, I'm proud and have emotional attachment to that place. Edit 4. I'm not in the US. Any property I own before marriage or after, if it has my name on deeds, it belongs to me alone. I can choose to register it in anyone else's name if I want to, or register a POA, or register someone as a co-owner later. But it's completely up to my discretion. We don't have a communal property law. And now with some comments on the post. Someone saying, you have a serious husband problem. First, no, it's your house. He didn't contribute anything to it, so no, don't add him to the deed. But second, he called his family to push you into what he wanted? Wow. Another commenter adds, not the jerk, it's an asset bought with your money, he has no rights to your property. You never know where a relationship will go. I owned property when I married 20 plus years ago and my husband has never had an issue with all the properties coming from my assets being only in my name. Community property he contributed to, yes, both names. It's suspect and ingenious asking to be put on the properties he did not contribute to the purchase of. Stay strong. The third commenter goes with, not the jerk. This is quite worrying and you do have a husband problem. If you're having marital problems, the worst one can do is involve parents into this, and he's doing exactly that. Stand your ground and stop talking to his parents. This is not their business. I'm at a wrap for today's episode of K-Korner. I hope these stories left you as amazed and entertained as they did for me. If you've got your own unbelievable tale to tell, don't hesitate to share it with us. We love hearing from our amazing community. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more jaw-dropping stories and hit that bell icon to stay updated. Until next time, keep living life to the fullest and always stay true to yourself. This is Crown signing off.